So we're going to number 4 immediately, and that's Keegan Murray. And Keegan Murray is one of the more interesting ones that we're going to talk about because I think there's a case that like he is one of the better players that we're going to talk about in terms of like winning basketball and helping a team win games because he is a very real shooter. I know he only shot 34% from 3 this year, but like I completely buy Keegan Murray as a shooter personally. He has averaged 13.3 points, 6 rebounds, and shot 45, 37, 81 over the course of his 3 seasons of his career to this point. And yet, if you kind of look at the box score, it looks like he is kind of stagnating is the way to put it. And it makes sense why that would be the case if you look at it from the big picture, which is, okay, older player, was drafted at 22 years old and, you know, is just kind of who he was entering the NBA. Right. But I think that's unfair to Keegan. And I think that's kind of the wrong way to look at this. And I think you really have to look at the way that the Kings have built this roster and have, I don't want to say screwed him because I think that would be wrong, but they've never given him as much of a chance to play with the ball in his hands is what I think I've actually liked when I've seen him do it from time to time. Like in his second year, I think his second year was his best season. He combined the defense with being able to get some shots here and there. He averaged 15 points on 45, 36, 83. And I thought he looked like he was kind of on the Trey Murphy trajectory at that point where, okay, he's like continuing to grow. We're starting to see him like come off of flare actions and then attack the rim. He can come off flare actions and obviously knock down threes. Then this year it was just messy because they bring in DeMar DeRozan and that takes up kind of all of his on-ball usage next to De'Aaron Fox, next to Domantas Sabonis, who we know are going to have the ball in their hands quite a bit. And it just felt like Keegan didn't get as much of a chance to really rock. And yeah, you can look at the percentages and they dropped. And, you know, I think that he went through like a pretty real slump there if memory serves. But at the same token, I definitely think there's something here. And I think that when it comes to a guy that is going to help you play winning basketball, Keegan Murray defends. He plays hard on that end. He's switchable defensively. He's very strong. He can deal with 4s. He has good feet to be able to slide on the perimeter with guards. I think he is an impressive like 3-and-D plus-ish kind of guy that might be more of a, like, this is a starting caliber, high level, like winning role player. But I just wonder if we haven't gotten a chance to see what the upside is with him either.
I mean, I think fans know, listeners of this podcast know where I land on Keegan Murray, where, you know, you kind of said it. Like, I just don't like the situation the Kings have put him in. And I think sometimes Kings fans think this is me taking a shot at Keegan Murray and his defense somehow. Like, I just don't think he's your primary best defender against all matchups. And so yeah. I think what Keegan is like, I think he'd be a good team defender. I think taking some of the best wing forward matchups he can absolutely do. But in general, I think him taking the second best matchup is what's best for him defensively, which is really important to an all-around good defensive scheme, but also opens up more for him on the offensive end and allows him to be a little bit of more of a scorer and a threat that I think he can be. And so I'm with you. Like, I think he is absolutely a starting caliber wing forward, whatever you want to call him in this league. And so my thing is, when we start to look at a number, like, is Jabari Smith Jr. not the starting point? Like, if you're Keegan Murray, don't you say Jabari Smith Jr. has played 212 games, started 194? I've started 231 and played 233. I've been more efficient from the field, from the 3-point line. I've rebounded not quite as good, but I'm not a bad rebounder. And I might be a better defender. Like, why, if you're Keegan Murray, would you not say, I at least want the same AAV as what Jabari Smith Jr. got?
I think I would want more, honestly. Yeah. Like, I think I would want a bigger number than what Jabari got. I think the Trey Murphy deal is the reality. Like, I think for 112 is probably the number that I'd be like really targeting here. And the reason for that is you look at Keegan Murray against Trey Murphy's, second and third seasons, right? So Trey Murphy in his 2 seasons combined from 2023 to 2024, 136 games, averaged 14.6 points, 4 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 46.6% from the field, 39% from three, 86% from the line. Keegan Murray, 13.8 points, 45, 35, 83, 6 rebounds. So a better rebounder and a much better defender, I think, than what Trey Murphy is at this point. I think Trey Murphy's a little bit better player than Keegan Murray personally, but that is what I would want. I would pretty clearly be looking at like, hey, I want like 27-ish, 28-ish a year. And here's the other piece of it too. If I'm Keegan Murray and I'm looking at it this way, I want to know what the direction is in Sacramento. And I want to know, like, am I going to get a chance to ever play on the ball? Right? Because that's where I'm thinking here. Like, am I going to get a chance to play on the ball, or is it going to continue to be, we have Zach LaVine, we have DeMar DeRozan, we're going to move DeRozan and bring in another on-ball player. You guys just signed Dennis Schroeder. So like you're even adding another on-ball player to the mix here than what it was previously, even though you removed De'Aaron Fox. You essentially replaced De'Aaron Fox with Zach LaVine, and then you added another on-ball player into the mix there. I just want to know what's going on. Like, DeMar DeRozan's deal can be up after this year. Or are you going to let DeMar go? Or are you going to try to move him? Or are you going to try and build a team that makes like a little bit more sense for me? Right. I kind of want to know what the plan is there.
Yeah. I don't want to be too rough towards the Kings here. So like, I just want him to be in a good situation. So the Trey Murphy one is interesting because like I would just take Trey Murphy over Keegan Murray right now. Depending, like I just think Trey Murphy, I'm super high on him now.
Here's what I would say though. I think I would have answered Trey a year ago, right? Like at this time last year, I think I would have said I would rather have Trey Murphy than Keegan Murray. But how much of what we're talking about with Trey Murphy is clouded by Trey took a massive leap after he signed the extension.
Sure. No,
right.
And this is to your point. What you said at the top is there's so much projection in this, because my thing is so I'll just be completely transparent. Like I look at the Trey Murphy contract, right, Sam? And I say, man, if that's my number 2 scorer on that contract, I feel really good about how I can build out the rest of the roster. Right? If I have Keegan Murray and what I've seen so far, no projection. If I have Keegan Murray on that contract as my 4th offensive option, even though he is a better defender, I'm a little more uneasy because I know I got to go get out and get a number 2, a number 3 option and pay those guys. So that's where if I'm going to give him the Trey Murphy contract, and we're going to have this conversation with so many guys as we go throughout this, like the next 3 guys are all going to be the same conversation to some extent. I would want to feel good about Keegan being like at least my number 3 offensive option. I don't know that as much as I love Keegan, I see him as a really good NBA starter. I'm not sure I see Keegan as a number 2, number 3 scoring offensive option. But if you're projecting that, then of course you're asking for Trey Murphy money.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know that. So Trey Murphy's going to make 15% of the cap.
Yep.
Right. That's like number 3, number 4 money. That's not top 3 money. You know what I mean?
That's maybe where I'm a little bit skewed here is like I would rather have Trey Murphy than Keegan Murray, but I also am like, if Trey Murphy's the number 2, number 3 option, he's underpaid, right? Like to your point here. And so that's where maybe my values are skewed a little bit because Trey's on such a good contract for the role that I'm projecting him. So it's a little bit unfair. I will admit that it could be a little bit skewed whenever we're talking specifically Trey Murphy.
Yeah. So I think where I'm at with Keegan is I think the comp is somewhere between Jabari and Trey Murphy. Like, I think that it's somewhere between 24 and 27, 28 a year. If he did like 400, if he did 125, something like that, it would make sense to me. If he decided to hold out for restricted free agency and said, hey, you know what? Like, I'm not one of these small guards that like doesn't really get paid right now. I'm actually like a bigger wing that teams are constantly on the lookout for. I think I will have a better market than someone like Jonathan Kuminga. I think I'll have a better market than somebody like Cam Thomas or, somebody like that. I would get that. I would understand that on his part too. But so the agency here is priority. By and large, they have a tendency to get good deals for their players first and foremost. Like I would say that they have done about as good of a job as anybody in the league agency wise of getting deals for their players. But B, like they tend to get their guys paid before restricted free agency. So I would think that this probably gets done. And I would guess that it's going to get done in the ballpark of, I don't know. Let's call it 4,105.
Cool. The number in my head was 4,102. Like it's just like, we're the same range. I think, we talked about this a little bit with Giddey, obviously a different situation, but I also agree with you that I think he could have a really good market because he's such a plug and play dude. Like this is not, hey, we need to have a conversation how he fits on a roster. Like Keegan Murray fits on essentially every roster across the NBA because of the defense. I believe he's a real floor spacer and shot maker from the 3-point line. And so I do think if I'm Sacramento, I would be worried about the market he would have next offseason. I realize restricted free agency is complicated even with a player like that, but I think it's a little tougher with him than how some of these teams have played it with a Kuminga, a Cam Thomas. So if I'm Sacramento, I'm trying to get it done. I think if I'm Keegan Murray, I want real money. Like I've played 3 seasons and I've played a lot of minutes for this organization, Sam. And I've taken on a lot of tough defensive matchups.
And been totally healthy. Like he is, well, not like 100% healthy, but like he has played all but I think it's like 10 games or
2,
something.
7, like 13 or like very, very right around 10. Just available, right? He has been absolutely available and he seems like just a steadying presence. If you have one concern, I guess it's the jumper, right? That has gone down.
I would say it's the handle. Like he doesn't have a lot of like natural shiftiness, right? Like he's a guy that's going to like drive in a straight line and he can get to like a crossover to get to a step back, but like he's not getting like paint pressure off of his handle, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess I think I've never been as high on Keegan's ceiling as most. We talked a lot about Keegan coming into that draft because of where Detroit was drafting and all of that. And I had a lot of debates about like ceiling and different stuff and all of that. So I've always been a little bit lower on the ceiling for Keegan. To me, it's like, I need him to be an elite 3-point shot maker, like an elite knockdown shooter from out there. So those numbers trending down is a little bit concerning, but I believe in the jumper enough that I think I'm okay with it.